Okay, so this is my handy dandy jig that I use to square up the sides of the mirror cell and how I will know where to put the holes that the 1/4-20 bolts are going to run through and connect the side rails to the cross beams on the mirror cell. So what we have to know first is the inside width of our mirror box from inside wall to inside wall, because we want the mirror or the mirror cell to be directly in the middle of the mirror box. We're basing everything on the middle of the mirror box. So what I've done is I've taken that template that I had made and I have ran 3 3/8 bolts through the bottom of the template, cinched them up really, really tight. So then I've got my crossbars up. Now this is another good way to make sure that your holes were properly drilled. And if you drilled a 3/8 hole through the wood template, that bolt doesn't have any wiggle room. So if these are correct and they screw in, then you know that your mirror cell is starting to look really accurate. So anyway, beyond that, we know that the inside width of this particular mirror box was, gosh, I believe 18 and 15/16. So from the back of the mirror box to the middle is half of that, which is going to be 9 and 15/32, I believe. So what I've done is I have used just what I call a shop helper. This is nothing more than a 90. And I have made the virtual back of my mirror box here so I can make this video and show you. And then I've taken one of these pieces of channel, because that's my side rail, and I've put it to the side. So that would be my mirror box. Now you'll notice this one odd piece of aluminum here in the middle. I cut 3 pieces of aluminum for the mirror cell. We're going to have the 2 that the column 8 bolts run through, the collimation bolts, and then 1 is going to be back toward the back of the frame itself. But what I'm using it for right now is how I'm getting my distance of the middle. I intersect that middle hole. That signifies the middle of my mirror, basically. So I drill a hole through there, the direct middle of my jig, and I run that cross beam across there, being careful to make sure it's parallel with this. And then I am going to measure from my virtual mirror box to the front here, which is going to represent the middle of the mirror. And I need to make sure that that is 9 and 15/32 here. And then I'll set that piece of channel to the side, and I'm going to measure from here to the front and make sure that's 9 and 15/32 as well, which I've already done, and it is. So this is where we're going to transfer our lines to make our ultimate holes for the 1/4-20 bolts to run through the aluminum channel. So we've got everything set up here. So I'm going to have 1 hole there on the side and 1 hole there on the side. So I'll set this down, make those marks. Another simple way to do it would be just take a tape and measure from your virtual mirror box to here to here. Either way works fine. So we've got 5 inches and 11 5/8. So 5 and 11 5/8. So I've made my mark, but I'm going to write that down as well, just in case. And what is the saying? Measure twice, cut once. So that's what we'll do. So we know where to drill those holes. Of course, we're going to drill them inside the channeling, okay? And on the outside of the channeling, after we've drilled that hole, now remember the hole is for a 1/4-20 bolt, so I'm going to drill that hole slightly larger than 1/4 inch. So if that's worth anything, I usually go with like a 9/32 drill bit to drill those holes. So then after that, I'm going to take a countersink and I'm going to use a machine screw ultimately to bolt the whole thing together. And so after I drill those holes, I'll countersink them as well to where the head of the bolt fits flush so that this can fit in there without protruding any more than it has to. Earlier, I don't know if I mentioned, always try to make these about 1/16 of an inch smaller. The cross beams, 1/16 of an inch smaller than what they need to be to fit inside to inside in your mirror box. Because you want to make just enough room in case there was ever a slight deviation from being perfect square, either on your mirror box or the mirror cell. Usually 1/16 of an inch should give you enough. If you're more out of square than that, it might be a bigger problem. But be sure to make this, and you can always make it even shorter and just use a washer to shim if you need to. A lot of people nowadays are using the drop-down tailgate mirror cell. I'm not the biggest fan of those, so I don't make them that way, but there's nothing wrong with them. So anyway, there's that. So next video we will, I guess we can show me drilling these holes and putting everything together. Okay, before I got too far, I wanted to show my drill press setup on drilling these holes in the sides of the side rails here on the mirror cell. So you can see my mark right there. That's where I made the mark for 5 inches, and I think it was 11 5/8. So what I've also done is I've set up a stop so that after I drill this hole, I can go and get my other piece. I don't even have to worry about my measurement. I'll just push to the stop, the clamp stop there, and I know that they're going to be dead accurate. So then I will readjust for the 11 5/8 hole, and we'll be set. Now another thing I'd point out is to ensure that I'm drilling in the middle of this channel. I feel pretty good that I can find the middle of the channel by measuring and manually transferring that measurement. But what I found to be much more accurate is before you bring the piece over to actually drill, find a piece of scrap of the same material and have some type of fence here that I've got on my drill press. And you could just make one. You can make one with just a block of wood, anything. And trial and error that piece of scrap until you can flip it around this way and then that way. And the drill bit goes through the middle every time. So that's when you know you're actually true dead center. After that is when I'll go and drill my holes. So I'll drill them really quick. I always use a piece of scrap underneath so that as I drill through, I get a much cleaner hole. There we have it. Now I will readjust my clamps to get the other measured piece. And after that, I am going to countersink those holes so that my 1/4-20 bolt will fit right in. After you've made the 4 holes to connect those 2 cross beams, you still got that 1 extra crossbar that you need to put in there. And so we have to mark it and drill that hole. Keep in mind, that's going to be the one that's at the very back of the mirror box. So the hole that was 5 inches from the back, we're going to go toward the back on it and measure a hole 1/2 inch in and put that hole there so we can put the other crossbar in eventually. So I want to mention that before I go on to countersinking here. So what I've done is I've just lifted my work. I've put a countersink, just a simple single flute countersink bit in here. And I like doing it in the drill press because it keeps that countersink much more square to the work. And here we go. And there you can see these nice clean countersinks. Now we want to make sure that that machine bolt that we're going to put in there sits flush. And after it sits flush, we're ready to move on. So I'm going to finish the other side and I'll go ahead and bolt this up and show you on the next video what it looks like.